Coming to you from Chicago's South Side, you're listening to the Fighters Corner podcast with Mike Davis and John Goroski.
Welcome back, guys. This is John Goroski, and this is the Fighters Corner podcast. With me is Mike Davis from
the United Combat League.
League, and today we got a really fun podcast for you guys. We're going to be going over a lot of the fun things that are going on with PBC boxing, in particular to, Caleb Plant, the Charlo brothers, and then this big, fight coming up this weekend. I heard there's a fight coming up this weekend. I'm not sure, but I heard there's one.
The rumor is.
Yeah, and we're going to be sure to touch on that. So,
in the last couple podcasts, we did a lot of MMA. It's about time we did a boxing one.
Yeah,
and it's long overdue.
Yep, for sure.
Well, I thought the podcast went well, and we hope you guys enjoy it.
The Fighters Corner is on now.
I want to start with the Caleb Plant fight.
The last PBC.
The last PBC that happened on Sunday.
Okay.
Really good event. I thought a lot of the fights pretty much did not go to decision other than, I think, the main event.
The fight right before the Jose Uzcategui, I think is his last name.
Uzcategui,
yeah. They had the journeyman versus the firefighter. Police officer. That was a little rough. Joey Spencer. Yeah.
So, but in regards to the Caleb Plant fight, that actually was a very entertaining fight. Caleb Plant,
well, he came out on fire.
Oh, he did. For 9 rounds, he was in charge of that fight.
Yeah, I coach boxing, and the one thing that I've always been taught ever since I was a child is there's 2 types of cardio. There's explosive cardio, and then there's distance cardio. And you need to do sprints for one, and you need to do like long runs for the other, and they're not the same.
You know what? He actually showed both. I'm gonna
fade it at the end.
Well, that's why. Like in the end, in the 9th and the 10th, 11th and 12th round,
he was holding on, man.
He was holding on, but I think, in my opinion, that's where he won the fight. Okay, because Uzcategui is a lethal striker. I mean, this guy.
He hits. Not only can he hit hard, he also can take a decent punch.
Oh, dude!
We learned that he could get hit with a hammer, and he's a good. It's like in a fight game, you can be a hammer. Everyone's got a hammer, but you also have to be a good nail.
Well,
and he proved he was a good nail that night.
No, I agree for sure, 100%. But what I noticed the most about him, he got knocked down in the 2nd, and then again in the 4th. Okay. At that point,
yeah, but the 2nd was more of a footwork thing. It was a ballerina thing, but it wasn't like
it was an off balance, sort of tumble.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was nice. It was definitely a knockdown.
It was. All credit to Caleb Plant for doing what he did. I don't consider it like hey, this dude got knocked down, like sort of like how Deontay Wilder did to Tyson Fury.
Honestly, he got Jose got tricked. Essentially, he got tricked, but you know what? It worked.
It worked, and on the scorecards. It's a knockdown.
For sure, 100%.
But think about like what Jose did in that fight after that 2nd knockdown. So he got knocked down in the 2nd, and then he got knocked down in the 4th.
He got right back up after that 2nd knockdown.
But more importantly, what I caught was he never gave up, and he
kept moving forward.
Oh, dude, it's like he didn't care. A lot of times you see boxers sort of almost mentally throw in the towel at that point. And you could sort of see like, where hey, I'm already down 2 knockdowns. He's playing phenomenal defense. I'm not catching him. What's the point of me continuing this fight? I mean, sometimes you could read body language and see that from athletes, but Jose?
Well, you even seen in championship fights. You've seen guys in championship fights that are like the last few rounds where they've kind of just thrown in the towel and they're just trying to make it to the end of the fight.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that. And that's like a special breed. It takes a special breed of person to be a professional fighter. We can agree on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, like, when you get to the cream of the crop, when you start winning titles and stuff like that, like, you're kind of narrowing your scope and your pool of people to pick from. And then when you get to that, point, the people that just kind of don't have a problem with throwing in the towel and going all in, it's a certain type of mental strength that even the best of the best very few have.
Yeah.
Would you not agree with that?
No, I 100%. I agree with that. And Jose,
he has it.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
He showed it.
I think he's actually tougher than he is skilled. Like, he's a skilled guy.
Yeah.
But I think his mental toughness goes beyond his actual physical ability, which is impressive.
Right.
Does that? I mean, are we agreeing on that?
I do. Okay. I do agree with that. I mean, not only
I was
that,
impressed.
No, I mean, like I said, like
he kept moving, he kept walking him down.
You could have easily seen him throwing that towel. And you could sort of tell in the athletes too in these like later rounds, and they're behind on the scorecard, and you could just see that they're just not giving 100%. They're just like, hey, what round is it? 9th round, okay, just 3 more rounds.
How did I do? Yeah. How did I do?
Yeah, when do we go home?
And I liked his coach too. Like if you looked at his coach's interview, like the amount of confidence coming out of his coach, like we know how he breathes. Like that's somebody that has been studying tape. Like that's some guy like fighters give a percentage to a coach. A coach like that that has comments and confidence, like that wasn't faked either. Like that's a guy you're happy to pay, your percentage of your purse to because there was love on that coach's end. Like they were very, very prepared. It's just he got out-duked.
Yeah, and that's why I sort of reflect and say that I think Caleb won the fight in the last 3-4 rounds. I mean, the first 9...
He showed he was made. What he was made of.
Oh, dude, he showed me in those last 3 rounds that his IQ, his in-ring IQ was better than Jose.
Well, the in-ring IQ, I think, showed in that first knockdown. Like, that first knockdown, that 100% was IQ in. It wasn't like he guessed at an answer, like on a multiple choice answer. That ring IQ continued, like you said, the last quarter of that fight, which I agree with.
Yeah, the ring IQ helped him solidify that win, and he was in trouble. Like let's pretend like he wasn't, because I thought
there wasn't 10-8 rounds, but he could have had some issues. There was times where he was getting connected, and you start to see like Caleb's face was getting a little bit flushed at sometimes at some points, and then like he would bounce back with his cardio, and like I kept hearing his corner tell him like, hey, control the pace, control the pace, control the pace. And I'm not sure if I would have told him the same thing too. I think they were a little concerned about his cardio.
He
carries a lot of muscle.
Yeah, he does, and that's going to sort of reflect in how he carries in the cardio, because obviously athletes who have more muscle need more oxygen to move around and
like he's a guy that. He was on his heels, and when you fight going backwards, it actually burn more energy than you fight like when you move forward. Yeah. Some people like kind of argue that fact, but when you get in that ring and you fight that way, you are absolutely burning more energy walking backward, and he was on his bike that entire fight.
Yeah, and Jose kept coming forward.
Jose was walking him down.
So, I mean, like, I listening to Caleb Plant's corner, like, just tell him, like, hey, man, control the pace. I'm like, man, like, you're in trouble, dude. Like, I felt like with Jose's power that he had, he's got a mean right hook.
But that right hook continues into the late rounds.
It does.
Sometimes, like when you really look at, like, knockouts and stuff like that, I don't have percentages in front of me, and I haven't even looked this up online, but I think it's fair to say that the overwhelming majority of knockouts probably happen in the first half of a fight.
Yeah.
And then later on as it goes on, the knockouts become less and less because, both combatants are a little more tired. And he's got a special type of power. And he's got a special type of power. Like, he carried it into the late rounds.
Yeah, he did. And that's why I think that, for that reason, I think Caleb won the fight in the very end of that fight. I mean, in the very last few rounds, because of the power that Jose always had. Okay, he never gave up.
No,
the defense that Caleb was showing.
And he had good cardio too, like, not just power but cardio. Yeah, he was walking the whole time.
I think that if that fight would have won another 2 rounds,
we would have had a different decision.
I don't know, man.
I think so.
It very well could have been. I mean, I don't know if Caleb could have held on another 2 rounds, but I'm still very impressed with Caleb.
Okay, now let me ask you, what do you think the deciding factor for Caleb was in this fight that allowed him to get the win? Outside of ring IQ.
Defense, and he was finding really good angles.
His left hook.
Yeah.
His left hook kept tagging him, especially like on the brawling, because, the Bolivian, Jose Uzcategui.
Yeah,
I'm never going to get that right.
Yeah, it'll take a couple years.
Yeah, right? Give me like 4 or 5 more fights of his, and I might figure that one out. But, like, he kept trying to bring him into a brawl. Mm-hmm. And that's a real dangerous situation because of the power that Uzcategui has.
Yeah.
Except that left hook was like the deciding factor.
Yeah.
He kept managing to find that little window for that left hook to land.
Yeah. Then after the fight was over and Ray Flores announced the winner. And both of the fighters were standing there too, and I'm watching it on the TV screen, and
he sounded good, didn't he, man?
He did. No, he did. He did.
Man, I'm a mixed martial arts promoter here in the Midwest, and Ray got his start with me. I got him his first international gig in Costa Rica, and I'm so proud to see somebody like that. Like, you could sit here and look at the fighters in the ring, but when you talk about administrative spots with organizations that are always on one coast or the other, and you got a little kid from East Chicago, Indiana, that somehow made his way over there and is in the ring, man. Come on, bro, makes me like a proud dad, bro.
Yeah, it always is. Actually, I texted him a couple times today too. I mean, I know he's working.
He looks good, man. Ray sounds good.
Yeah, he's definitely come around a long way.
Oh, we should get him on here. Yeah, I would love to dog him about the early days. I've got so much footage of him from his early days with the big, thick glasses. Oh man, you want to talk about some YouTube hits? I can create a couple videos. I think I can get a couple thousand out of my Ray Flores stuff.
There you go. But like when Ray announced the winner of that fight, and Caleb, his nickname that he's implementing on himself is "and the new." And when Ray,
that's so Ohio State, isn't it, man?
It is. Yeah. And when Ray said "and the new," Caleb just dropped onto his knees and he started getting emotional. And I'm like, man, watching this fight, I almost got emotional too, man. And it was really, really cool to see, man. Just seeing where, like,
he's got like a storybook type ending now. Like he's from absolutely. He's from some nowhere town that is considered a flyover state. By anybody with any common sense that knows anything about travel.
Yeah. And
this guy is doing big things on a big scale, and not only is he doing big things, like, he's faced adversity.
Oh yeah.
Like the losing of a child. We're both fathers here.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that
pain. I wouldn't wish that on my worst of enemies, man. And he's gone through it.
And he's got a storybook ending right now with that win. It kind of gives him that time where he can sit up at that podium and talk about greatness and accomplishment, and he's got no one to thank other than himself,
right,
and his family, and his foundation.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
I'm looking forward to seeing like what's up next for Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very non-traditional type living too, being a fighter, especially at that level.
He's young too, 26 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like he's got a little bit of a bright future ahead of him. I'm not sure if they're going to give him a...
He's going to have to get that cardio issue underway. Like, he might have to see a specialist about that.
Yeah. I mean,
there's guys that are better than Floyd Mayweather for 3 rounds. But you go make that 12 rounds?
Hell no.
Good luck.
Yeah,
and I would just hate for him to lose to somebody. Well, here, like, let's just say he lost.
Yeah.
Okay? His last fight. You and I'd be sitting here going, yeah, the better fighter lost tonight. The better fighter lost tonight. And when you're fading in those last few rounds, you're risking that. And I'd hate to see that, especially for someone that I like. I'm a fan, man. I'm a fan of that guy.
Oh yeah. It's hard not to root for a guy like Caleb Plant, and like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing.
Well, in his earlier fights, like some people, like if you had like to throw a little bit of shade on him, like if you look at some of the online forums and stuff like that, you will read, well, he's just not that flashy, he's not that fancy, he's not this, he's not that. Like, people are looking for an excuse not to like the guy. But I'll tell you this right now. That was an exciting fight, man.
It was. I watched that fight 3 times, and even after that 3rd time, I was still impressed. It wasn't a fight that I was bored to, at all by. So I was real impressed with Caleb. There is a bright future for Caleb Plant, and I'm already looking forward to the next fight. Even if it's a rematch against Uzcategui.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, we're not the only one here.
Even if it's a rematch against him, like I'd welcome it. I mean, it was good.
Like, if I were to point out like another flaw, he's 6'1". Mm-hmm. Like, that's not what you consider championship height.
Really?
Yeah, no. Championship height there is going to be 6'3", 6'4".
Even in that weight class?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at someone that's like 135, 140 pounds, you're looking at someone that's 5'10", 5'11". That's considered championship height. You know?
I noticed it.
In his reach, he's going to have reach issues as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just genetic. You know, I mean, that means you got to work harder. But when you got to work harder, that means you got to run more.
Hey, Mike Tyson had T-Rex arms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
he was a little short dude too.
Yeah, I got some thoughts on Tyson, but go ahead. All right, yeah, that's another podcast.
But overall, man, I was real impressed with that PBC fight.
Well, what about the production?
I thought it was good.
I thought so too, man.
They come a long way, man. I mean, it's.
Well, to say they come a long way, they have a lot of events.
They do, and it's not, it doesn't feel like it's overset. Yeah, I'm actually gonna one up this too. The difference between
PBC we're talking about.
PBC,
yes,
yeah.
Al Heyman.
And,
Al isn't like a media whore either. Like,
no.
He really stays behind the scenes.
He's the opposite of Dana White.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find Al Heyman holding court somewhere. You know,
I was really impressed with the production. I'm also impressed with overall
his ability to raise money too. I mean, it's this.
Yep.
I mean, I respect Al a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure on that too. The just the overall quality that we're getting from PBC lately. The events, it's free boxing. It's on Fox Sports 1, and I'm able to watch it on my tablet. We're getting pay-per-view quality boxing fights
for sure
for free.
And you know what? He's also telling a story on these fights as well. As long as you keep watching them, it's like he's allowing you to kind of follow the storyline and understanding, and he's building characters. I'm doing air quotes when I say characters.
They're doing a good job to remind me what the UFC was back in the early 2000s.
I'd even say late 90s to early 2000s.
Yeah, late 90s. Sure. I'd say late 90s up to 2003.
With the exception that they're doing more events than the UFC was doing at that time.
Yeah, that's true too. The UFC was doing
4, maybe 5 events, 6 if you were lucky.
And then eventually, even when they were
eliminated a weight class, the 55-pound weight class, because they weren't doing enough events.
Right. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
They eventually got to about maybe one, and I think that's when they were at their peak, was when they were doing one event per month. Because we would make events at it, just even at my house. Have people come over. It's a once a month thing.
Yeah, I've been here. Yeah.
And it was great. Now it's there's one every weekend. It's oh God,
Well, I think the difference between PBC and the UFC really concentrates on their brand name. Mm-hmm. Do you train UFC, bro?
Yeah.
And PBC, you know what? I wish if I had to. If I had to say something that they were a little lacking in, I wish they'd push their characters a little more, because they're not pushing their brand as hard as they are the fighters. Mm-hmm. And I hope with time they kind of get that diamond in the rough. Mm-hmm. Jared Hurd. There's a bunch of characters we can talk about.
Oh, the Charlo brothers. I think the Charlo brothers are perfect for boxing right now.
They got to bring them along though. I think that's where Heyman. I think that's where he really needs to concentrate. Okay, Pride early days. Mm-hmm. You've got these cartoon type characters like Rampage, and they would have these giant slams, these huge finishes like Crow Cop and Fedor, and essentially they'd be pulling in a garbage man or an ice cream guy off the street, and you would just see them get mopped. But at the end of the day, it was a highlight that people talked about it. And then those guys went to the UFC, where they kind of fought the exact same competition, and those finishing moves kind of went away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's and Pride would essentially build a tournament. They would give them tomato can after tomato can, and then they'd kind of have a final, like a Grand Prix is what they would refer to it as, where, okay, we got two guys that have been smashing, people. I hope PBC takes a little of that showmanship, and I'm not saying every event, obviously, because you and I like good quality boxing, but I hope they they take note that it's also a show. Mm-hmm. The Charlos, they've been matched pretty stiff, and they've got some big personalities.
Well,
and it's not fake. It's not a fake personality.
Those guys are legit, and they're fun to watch, and they're fun to root for. The event that happened last month, the Tony Harrison versus Jermell fight. It was a good fight, and I rewatched that fight 3 times, and I like I told you before, I scored it every single time I watched it.
I thought Harrison won the fight.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Harrison did win the fight.
And it wasn't like a flashy type win. It was kind of, and I pointed out when you and I were watching it, I don't know if you recall me saying it, I go, he's stealing the rounds.
Yeah.
I said that to you, and he was.
The same common denominator that I had across pretty much all three of my scorecards on that fight were rounds 11 and 12.
Okay.
And of rounds 11 and 12 is when Tony Harrison turned up the volume and Jermell couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah, that's kind of when that the marathon runner kind of comes out.
In my opinion, that's, I think, how Tony Harrison won that fight in rounds 11 and rounds 12. And I didn't see the official scorecards, but obviously.
And for the layman out there, somebody that's just kind of sitting on a couch, and you probably already know this, but I'm going to verbalize it anyway. They're fighting on a Saturday, but it's taken 2, maybe 3 months of working out 6-7 days a week to kind of get there and making sure the workouts aren't too grueling so they don't peak early. Like, there is an absolute science to get them to where it is they need to be. And man, it was impressive.
It was.
Yeah, PBC's doing some really, really cool stuff.
No,
man.
they are.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Going back to the early December fight when Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury, Jarrett Hurd was on that fight card as well, and he won pretty easily.
Yeah, and it was kind of. I think that whole undercard was kind of.
Well, it is what it is. But still, I mean, like watching Jarrett Hurd just play, patty cake with the dude that he fought. I forget his name already.
He was an artist,
and then
that was his tapestry that night.
you can tell someone in between the third and fourth round told Jarrett Hurd, like, "Hey, man,
it's time.
I want to go home. I want to go home."
I got the old lady at home yelling at me through text. I gotta go.
Can you wrap this up? I want to go home. And that's pretty much what happened. But then, like, after the fight was over, Jermell Charlo got into the ring and got in his face. And pretty much...
That's a little rough, man. I mean, I was a little turned off by it.
I dig it. I dig it 100%, man. I love the drama behind it.
And I'm with you. And you got to look at it this way. Is there any feelings in the fight game?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. In fact, at the end of the day, when those checks get cashed, no matter what was said, you kind of got to look at the guy with a little bit of respect, and you got to go, man, thank you. Like, I couldn't act like a complete ass or a jerk because, with social media now, this stuff isn't going away forever.
Yeah.
Adrian Broner's type stuff, talking about STDs and things of that nature. But, like, at the end of the day, like, you also... If someone can carry a fight and it can sell some tickets, you got to kind of say thank you.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes across as real as the Charlo brothers.
Right. No, and I'm gonna say it again, dude. I love the Charlo brothers. Yeah. I mean, they are what boxing needs to keep it very, very exciting.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, like, something that I know for sure has happened in their lives. Imagine being in grammar school and you just kind of say something, just flip you into someone like, screw you, buddy, or whatever. And it just happened to be one of the Charlos. And you picked a fight with the wrong guy. And you ended up getting socked up by both of them. Yeah, because I was hanging out with Michael and Leon Spinks a few years ago in New York for, like, the Boxing Hall of Fame ceremony. And I remember, like, telling them, and it applies to the Charlo brothers, I'm like, yeah, I imagine a lot of broken furniture in your house growing up. And he just looked at me and he goes, you know what? There was actually, like, it didn't even dawn on him. I'm like, you got 2 gold medal Olympians. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can go on and on about the Spinks brothers, but yeah.
With what's going on with Jermell, the one who challenged Jarrett Hurd, it makes things interesting because he challenged Jarrett Hurd when he had
his next fight,
and he lost his next fight.
You get a little egg in your face.
a little bit, but it actually makes things a little bit more interesting because he got into Jarrett Hurd's head. Like, Jarrett Hurd, in my opinion...
Why do you say that?
He doesn't need to beat the Charlos to establish his legacy.
Okay, for sure.
The Charlos need Jarrett Hurd more than Jarrett Hurd needs the Charlos. Okay? After the fight was over, he's like... After Jermell lost to Tony Harrison, I heard Jarrett Hurd, he was saying, like, well, you know what? I was looking forward to fighting Jermell, but you know what? I'm going to probably move up and fight Jamal now. And then I'm going to take his belt. And then after that, I might go back down and get Jermell. So it actually, like, what you were hoping it was going to happen.
That's some disrespect.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they got into his head. They got into his head, and he doesn't need to fight him at all. He doesn't need to fight him at all, but I think he wants to. He really wants to.
Well, especially if you think it's an easy payday, why wouldn't you? Yeah. If you can get 2 easy paydays.
Yep. And I think Jarrett Hurd's got a fight coming up, I think, in May. And I think he's gonna see what happens with the Tony Harrison Jermell Charlo rematch, and I think he said next year he wants to move up to like 160, and then but I'm not sure if Jermell is still in his plans at that point, and I think it's just gonna be a wait and see type of thing. He might go after Jermall for the after his belt, who's a little bit heavier than Jermell, and then after that he might go back and fight Jermell.
Well, either way. Are you gonna watch?
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. I'm gonna be really close to the television on that, and just seeing how everything just evolves into what ultimately is gonna be. Hopefully, we see a Charlo fight Jarrett Hurd, and to be honest with you, I mean, just based off what I see with the Charlo brother, with both of them, they're both talented. They're both ultra talented, really good fighters.
On top of it, you can tell they got a good foundation.
They do. They do.
But it's a good family foundation. They love each other. They're brothers, man.
At this point, like, if they were to fight now, based off of like what I've seen, I don't think the Charlos can stay in the same ring with Jarrett Hurd. Jarrett Hurd is something very, very
you
special.
got 2 brothers that are fighting at a championship caliber. To even say that. Like,
I'm saying the Charlos are great. I'm just saying Jarrett Hurd is a little bit better.
They got to find a next gear.
They do. Yeah. They do. And they'll get there. They will get there.
Well, sometimes you got to change up camps.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to make adjustments. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
And whether it's sparring partners, camps, training, whatever. There's in order for them to get to where it is they want to be, they've got to change things up. But they have the ability.
Oh, the ability and the foundation is there without a doubt.
Yep.
They have they have the ability to be really, really, really good, and I'm looking forward to them evolving their game as the years goes on.
I agree.
We'll see how it works out, man. But
what about this Saturday?
Let's talk about this Saturday. What's going on this Saturday? Who we got? We got Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner.
You know what, man? Pacquiao's 40 years old.
Don't matter.
See, you say that, but one day
it's gonna matter.
He's gonna appear old,
and it could happen on Saturday.
He kind of did against Mayweather, and he kind of did. Who's that teacher from Australia that he fought? Come on. Jeff Horn. Okay.
Jeff Horn.
Okay, here we go. All right, so one day, Manny Pacquiao is gonna appear old. He's gonna do it, and you know what, man? Against Floyd Mayweather, I know they said, "Oh, he was injured. He looked like he got old, and his fight against Jeff Horn, which I watched that fight. I think I was at a bar visiting like some old friends or something like that I hadn't seen in a while, so I was kind of in and out of that fight. Jeff Horn looked pretty good against Manny Pacquiao in that fight as well, and I know that the deck was kind of stacked against Manny, and that was kind of one of those decisions where the government should probably get involved and investigate exactly what happened there, but. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But, he's 40 years old. I mean...
he's going to appear 40 years old one of these days, and who knows when it's going to be. I'm going to tell you who is looking...
5'5" is how tall Manny Pacquiao is.
Oh, I know.
That's incredible.
It is.
Giant calves, too.
Yeah.
Have you seen that dude's calves? Mm-hmm. They're monstrous.
He's a mean dude, man. And he's going to be an all-time great. I don't think he's in that same... tier that you would put like a Muhammad Ali or even like a Floyd Mayweather.
Well, if he beat Floyd Mayweather, people would be making that argument.
They would be making the argument, but right now they don't got that argument.
No, unfortunately they don't.
I think he's 67-2 or something like that.
Yeah, his first loss was when that doesn't really count. That's like when he was like a street kid and they weren't feeding him for a few days.
But still, after 69 bouts, he's only got 60 wins. Compared to like Floyd Mayweather. With the 50 wins, what I mean? I think that when it's all said and done, with Pacquiao will go down as one of the greatest. I mean, he's gonna be like a Sugar Ray Leonard to me. He's gonna be in that category. Yeah, I don't think he's not in that top tier. He's in that one like right below it.
Like if you and I were doing like some sort of pick the greatest boxers per weight class, and we'll put them into some sort of computer algorithm and. we'll go weight class by weight class. Yeah, Manny Pacquiao wouldn't be the guy you pick, unfortunately.
No, he'd be like I said, he'd be in that second tier.
He's a conversation, but he's not it. Yeah.
But like the way how
like Harry Greb, in my opinion. Like you could talk about the greatest fighters ever to live. Harry Greb belongs in that conversation, but he's not it.
Looking at the Pacquiao fight, I was like sort of like looking back and thinking about it. I'm like, man, like what's going on here? Like why is this fight happening?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you, John. In your opinion, what is the caveat of that fight? I have my opinion, but I want to know yours.
Well, I think it comes down to rewinding a little bit back to late last year, when Manny Pacquiao ran into Floyd Mayweather at Japan Ultra, which is like a music festival. So I think what happened was Mayweather walked into Pacquiao's like private suite or whatever and pretty much almost openly challenged him. And I think there were some reports online about that.
Anywhere those two go, their entourage must be massive.
Oh, yeah.
Like they must have like a couple buses just to carry their entourage
and you
around.
know that these guys can pretty much murder anybody with their hands, and they still got bodyguards, which is incredible.
I think their bodyguards have a different type of credibility that it also involves murder. But I'm not going to sit here and cast aspersions. So go ahead.
So I think like that pretty much was a seed that was put into the ground. And I think after that happened, Pacquiao approached Al Heyman about it and said, like, hey, look, I want to get Mayweather. And as you know, Heyman is an advisor and has been an advisor for
decades. Decades he's been in this sport.
For Floyd Mayweather Jr. And also, he obviously runs PBC. And I think there's the potential for a co-branding promotion, pay-per-view. And I think Al Heyman told Pacquiao, like, hey, why don't you sign with PBC? I'll get you a fight with Mayweather, but let's get you like a fight beforehand.
Yeah, or maybe, in my opinion, an eliminator bout. Because I would love to see Broner and Mayweather roast each other.
I think that can
happen.
happen.
Oh my God, can you imagine that?
I think that can happen only if Adrian Broner gets a KO.
Well, Broner's got to win this fight. And he's always kind of been the bridesmaid and never been the bride.
Dude, I honestly think that Al Heyman hates Adrian Broner. And
I don't think that's a hard thing to like. That you're not like reaching.
I
think there's a lot of people who don't like Adrian Broner.
I just think he just doesn't want anything to do with him, and he's given him 3 back-to-back fights.
Murderers row.
Yeah, pretty much. He went from like Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas, and now Pac-Man. And so I think like against Jesse Vargas he lost, and then Mickey Garcia he lost, and I think he had a draw against Jesse Vargas, and now he's getting Pac-Man. So it's like, I don't know, the way how I look at it, I think Heyman doesn't really like Adrian Broner, and the way how he's setting him up sort of almost proves that. But I mean, we'll see. I think if Adrian Broner wins this fight via KO, I mean, and it can't go to a split decision, I think it's got to be a KO, like in the first, and that's the only way how he's going to beat him too. Because one thing that I noticed about Adrian Broner, his in-ring IQ isn't there. He's athletic, he's got a lot of power.
Okay, now if I may counter with this, the thing about Broner is when he throws caution to the wind, he's actually more deadly. And I wish he would do that more.
Well, we'll see what happens. I think the first 4 rounds is going to dictate a lot in tomorrow's fight. And I'm going to go on record by saying my predictions too. I think Manny Pacquiao wins by decision. I think he wins by decision. And I also think that if Broner does win, it's got to be... I don't think Broner's going to win by decision. I think of all the possible outcomes, like, what is there, 5 possible outcomes for this fight? Either Pacquiao by KO, Pacquiao by decision, Broner by KO, Broner by decision, or a draw. And I think out of those 5 outcomes, the least likely to happen is Adrian Broner via decision.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Broner is he's actually really marketable. He really is. And
even after all the dickbag shit that he's done?
Yeah. Yeah. Like when he fought Porter and he knocked Porter down in the 12th round, and even though he lost that fight, like it kind of showed you like, dude, I think the dickbag stuff, I think that there's a big mistake on the promotion end of them like trying to pretend like that never happened, like him catching crabs or chlamydia, whatever it was. Like I thought this, I chuckled. You know, I mean, I know he got sued over it. He didn't care. I know he's been like lighting money on fire and flushing it down a toilet and all these other things. But like,
definitely unstable.
Yeah, he's unstable, and I think there might be some, I don't know, chemical imbalances with Broner. But at the end of the day, like, if he did to Porter in that 12th round, like if he went out in the 9th round and did that, I think he would have beat him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Malignaggi, I think, is his biggest win up until this point. He definitely needs another one, you know, and this would be it. And this would be it.
This would be it.
And, you know, unfortunately, what are people going to say if he wins? Pacquiao was 40. Yeah, that's what we kind of started this with.
Yep.
But, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, that's who he's got in front of him. And, you know, he needs to win. Like, he needs to win this fight for people to, like, look at him as a first ballot Hall of Fame fighter.
Yeah. And he can win.
Oh, he's won titles in 4 different weight classes. Like, the guy is legit.
Yeah, he's definitely a threat. I mean, Pacquiao should not take him lightly, and I don't think he is. I think he considers him. How old is Broner? Like 29? 30?
I'm not sure. I thought he was a little older than that, but you know, I could probably tell you right now. Adrian Broner is 29.
There you go. So I mean, he's still young, man.
He's made some money too. The guy's legitimately made some money, and you know what, man? The only reason we're talking about Adrian Broner right now is due to the fact that he's done the dickbag stuff, is what you had said. You know, I mean, and if he beats him, I would like to see him and Mayweather go. Dude, Mayweather is still the biggest name in boxing.
Yeah, I just don't think.
Is that insane?
I still don't think that Mayweather goes up against a 29-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, I think that Mayweather is still trying to get... And Mayweather...
I think he just beat a 20-year-old in Japan, John.
Yeah.
What?
He made him cry, too, man. I feel bad.
Yeah. Well, I'd cry, too. I mean, it made you do a fixed fight.
Well, I'm sure...
I mean, your bosses made you do a fixed fight. I'd be upset as well. On New Year's.
I'm sure that as soon as that check was cashed, like, them tears pretty much went away. But,
yeah.
But I think Mayweather right now, he wants Pacquiao, and I think he's hoping that Pacquiao beats Broner just to get him again. Mayweather, what he's done in his career, he's given guys who have said that they've beat him, like in the first time up, you know, rematches. I think like there's 4 or 5 guys in his career that he's given rematches to. And Pacquiao's going to be the next one. So, I mean...
Yeah, the thing about Pacquiao, he's never dodged anybody.
No.
And, you know, in that fight against Mayweather, unfortunately... It should have happened years prior, and you know, years prior he was definitely a different fighter. Manny Pacquiao is a bad mother, man. That dude is. That little 5'5" guy shows up at your door collecting money, man. You just pay him.
I'll tell you what, like I don't think he's like in that first tier of all-time greats.
Okay, but if he would beat Mayweather,
no, I mean whether he does or not,
you would say he was.
I don't.
If he beat Mayweather.
If he, you know what? Yeah,
and the Jeff Horn fight wouldn't have happened if he beats Mayweather.
Yeah,
that wouldn't have existed.
Probably then. I mean, I think that probably helps staple his career. But whether he is or whether he's not, he's actually one of my all-time favorite fighters.
For sure.
I mean,
I got a picture. I got a picture of him on my wall at home. For sure.
How can you root against that dude? You know what I mean? Like, how can you root against it? He's fun dude to watch. Always respectable. I mean, like you want him to trash talk people, and he don't.
Yeah, he had that comedian Michael Blackson on. Oh man, that guy! I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's like a Nigerian comic that. Oh my God, he's. I wouldn't do him justice trying to describe his comedy act. You know, and I would probably come across as insensitive to certain people. But that guy is truly a comedic genius. I enjoy his work a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, you got any predictions on this fight then, or what?
You know what, man? I'm rooting for Broner. I know he's a heavy underdog as well. So I think Pacquiao is going to appear old, you know, which is what I said.
Okay.
And you know, I'm rooting for Broner because you give Broner a win over Pacquiao, I could only imagine the dickbag things that he does, and I'm kind of a fan of it. So yeah. Okay, I mean, I like self-destruction. Right. What can I tell you?
I respect it. I respect that. But I'm going to stick to my guns. I think that Pacquiao is going to take this win via decision.
One more thing. They're also going up against TJ Dillashaw and Cejudo in the UFC on the same night.
You know what, though? That's on an ESPN Plus paid service.
Okay, but that's a pay-per-view card.
Yeah, it is, but it's. I'm not sure on how many people are on this ESPN Plus thing.
You know, I might sign up. They give you a week for free. I don't know how often they're going to be doing cards, but I think it's like $7 or $8 or something like that. I think I'm going to sign up. I'm going to tell you, if we should do like 15 minutes on paid services for fights because you got DAZN coming.
Yeah.
There's a couple things. We should really kind of, maybe a future episode, give that 10, 15 minutes of our time.
Yeah, no, we could do that.
But I know it's like a paid service, but it's interesting that they're running into each other, and then the following week you got Fedor Emelianenko fighting, at Bellator.
Oh, against who the hell is he going up against? What the hell is his name? Not Matt Mitrione. He beat Matt Mitrione. What the hell is his name?
I'm not helping you, dude.
Maynard?
Nope. Come on.
Not Chael Sonnen.
Ryan Bader, man.
Ryan Bader.
Come on, bro.
Ryan Bader.
Which I'm pretty excited about that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bader's kind of one of those guys that fell a little short of expectations, Fought at real high levels, but I really thought he would be wearing a belt at some point or another. And I also think that Tito Ortiz fight with him was fixed, I know you're not supposed to say things like that, but one guy's making $25,000, the other guy's making $250,000. Yeah. And the guy that's making $25,000 has got an 8-fight deal. I think some money, changed hands for a quick guillotine win. So that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, there's gonna be some competition up for the Pacquiao Broner fight. There's even some fights on undercard too that we'll be watching close as well. It's gonna be
it's a good time to be a fight fan right now.
It is a huge. Good time to be a fight fan. And honestly, dude, I can't wait to see what's coming up with the heavyweight division. And even with these lighter weight classes too. I know it's a disservice to have a full this is our first boxing podcast.
Yeah,
and it's a disservice to do already 45 minutes into this thing and not even bring up one time Lomachenko.
What?
I mean,
Lomo.
Dude,
are you hanging on him?
Oh,
are you a nut hanger, bro? Tell me, are you a Lomo nut hanger?
How about this, man? He's 12-0.
Admit your sins.
He's 12-0.
Your sins.
He's 12-0, and he is the #1 pound-for-pound boxer in the world.
Why don't we go?
Disgusting
How about this? I know you're a huge fan, John, of Lomo. Why don't we go see him live his next bout?
Dude, I'd love to.
Yeah, how that guy's not a pay-per-view draw is beyond me.
It's coming. It's coming. Wow. Dude, as soon as big companies and ESPN start to really pick up on Lomachenko, and not saying that they're not, but I'm saying they don't give him the spotlight that he deserves.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not getting it yet, but once he gets it, man, forget about it. There's some fight fans out there that don't know who Lomachenko is right now.
The purist, I'm talking the true boxing purist. When you bring up Lomachenko, their facial expression changes, and they look at you going there's sentiments of love.
Yeah,
that they're about to express.
Dude,
what I mean? They're about to get down on a knee and propose to somebody. When you talk about Lomachenko, the thing about him is his high output. Man, I know I'm gonna sound dumb when I say this because his output is so high, right? Mm-hmm. We can agree his output is so high.
Yep.
But if you really watch him fight, people concentrate on his footwork, how slick he is, the traditional dancer, all those little key things people throw out there. I'm going to tell you another thing. Oh, and I hate to publicly say this, but I do believe it. He actually paces himself in the beginning of the fight, and you're like, pacing himself? He's sitting there running a marathon at full speed. He's like a Kenyan without his shoes at the New York Marathon.
Yep.
He absolutely is, because what he's doing is he's just tapping. He's tapping, and then he turns on his heat 9, 10, 11, and 12. But in his first 2/3 of that fight, he's actually just touching you, and he's frustrating you. And he doesn't really hit you with power shots until the last quarter of the fight. Would you agree with that?
No, I agree. he is a boxing ballerina. Probably not just the best footwork in today's boxing, maybe in history.
Kid Chocolate was real good. If you look at some of Kid Chocolate's fights, but he was ahead of his time as well. That was kind of like when people were adjusting from non-gloved boxing to glove boxing. In my opinion, Kid Chocolate was one of the guys that figured out glove boxing before anybody else. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that's something I can go on a tangent
I think
about.
Earlier in this podcast I said he was 12-0. He's actually 12-1. I remember it now because there was someone that was bringing up on
he was a world champion, and it was like his first 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah. And they were talking about like
it was controversial.
bringing it back and see if they could get a rematch against him.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
No,
I'd keep that one.
I'm okay. I would retire.
Yeah, the statue in my hometown is going to list Lomachenko by name, and the entire plaque is going to be about how I beat him.
Yeah, one last thing about Lomachenko, because honestly, we could dedicate 45 minutes just to our love for Lomachenko.
Yeah.
But one thing that I picked up on one of his things that he does for his training regimen, which I heard, and I'm like, there is no effing way, and sure as shit there is. His old man is
cornerman.
Is pretty much his cornerman, and
lead trainer.
What he does, like, he doesn't do this often, but he actually said this, but sometimes, like, during his training camp, he will actually do 15 rounds, sparring rounds, 4 minutes each round, with 30-second break, and rotating every 4 rounds with a new fighter.
Okay. Let's just pretend like we had an unlimited budget. This is what I do. I have Lomachenko's father sitting. I forget Lomachenko. I don't want him. I want his dad.
Oh.
And then I take Vasily Jirov, who's living in Arizona, and I have them exchange, because Lomachenko's father was probably in the communist boxing system, and I would like them to one-up each other with these horrible stories of getting attacked by dogs in narrow hallways, getting thrown out of boats, and having to swim 10, 12 miles back to shore, without anyone there, with a boat that motored back in, because that stuff existed in their lives, and they had the scars to prove it. And, it's... I can't believe that no one has really taken like these old communist style boxing, from Eastern Europe, not Cuba, which I wholeheartedly respect. It's more of a science than a torture. I want to get these torture techniques from Eastern Europe, and I want to hear them coming from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I'm sure. Real interesting stories.
It exists.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah,
but that mentality he's instilling on his kid. You know what I mean? Like that hard, grueling training techniques and them old school ways, man, that you don't see happen anymore. But like,
what do you refer to that as? There's actually a definition for that, and it's called immigrant mentality. And it's like that first generation immigrant, and like the work ethic and the hardness and just the thirst that they have. It's called immigrant mentality, and Lomachenko has it.
But I couldn't believe it when I heard that though, man. 4-minute rounds, 15 rounds,
okay,
dude. Like,
let me ask you something, and this is going to prove my point about immigrant mentality. Do you think Lomachenko spends a few nights a week at his parents' house?
Probably.
For sure.
I bet you he wakes up in the room next to his dad.
100%. I don't know the guy. I've never shaken his hand. I never talked to him. I don't even know anyone that knows the guy.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess, that's the type of guy that's his father has got his focus. Yep. They have a goal.
Yep. And that's it, man. They are destined.
And his father is, I'm going to try to get my son the biggest lineup of murderers in his weight class that I can find. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm about to open up my mouth on Mickey Garcia, but we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, we got to wrap this up. So John, what did we learn, John? Tell us what we learned today.
Well, I think today we learned that boxing is coming back, and it's coming back, and it's very, very interesting, very fun, very fascinating. I just can't wait. Dude, 2019 is going to be an awesome year for boxing, and honestly, I don't remember it being this fun to watch since the Tyson era. You know what I mean? And going back to it, like there was a point in my life where I had a disdain for boxing, and it goes back to like when Floyd Mayweather beat Oscar De La Hoya in a match that I thought that De La Hoya should have won. And since that time, I just had a disdain for boxing. Like, it left a bad taste in my mouth.
It's just, you're the redheaded stepkid, and the Nevada Athletic Commission is your stepdad.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like,
Yeah, it does. I mean, and like, De La Hoya was a boxer that I grew up loving to watch. I mean, he was a fantastic Mexican-American boxer.
I always rooted against him, I'm not going to lie.
Well, we used to have parties around De La Hoya. I mean, like Cinco de Mayo style quinceañera parties.
And do you know who I had parties around? Mayorga. If that guy spoke English, if he spoke English, you think Adrian Broner says crazy shit?
Yeah.
You need to go back and listen to the Spanish interviews that Mayorga gave, smoking cigarettes in between rounds. Oh my God, dude, that guy was awesome. Yeah. But anyway, we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah.
Real good podcast. I was happy with it.
Yeah, no, you know, fun time. You know,
you're going Pacquiao. I'm going Broner. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, guys, we'll see you around. Catch you on the flip side. Take care.
Absolutely.